I thought I would go ahead and do a short video of this. That's supposed to be a fruit tree. What it is, I ended up going to go get fruit trees so I could go ahead and plant fruit trees so I would be able to pick the fruit off the fruit trees and eat the fruit off the fruit trees. And I made a point of talking to the expert, saying that what I wanted and all that kind of stuff. And how many years later, there's not one single piece of fruit that's ever come from that tree. But basically, I was honest with them, told them what I wanted, and they intentionally either did not listen to me or whatever else. But basically, that's a fruitless tree, which gets back to the know them by their fruits. So basically, some trees will not, even though it's a fruit tree, will not bear any kind of fruits, and then some fruit trees are very rotten and rancid, and that's the reason why the lawyer ended up sending me the basket of fruit that was rotten. And once again, it came after the fact. It came after the fact. He knows it. He thinks that kind of crap's funny. But I mean, he basically has chosen to go to hell, to burn in hell for eternity, because he sees nothing wrong with what he's doing to people. And even Kevin Dutton has written about psychopaths tend to go into things like being lawyers. Same thing with media, meaning like television, like mass media. Same thing with oh golly, there's like 10 different professions, but I mean, when I read that, I was like, "Dee, do you want to tell me something new?" I think that Robert Hare is using the excuse of not going after psychopaths. Basically saying that he's too busy, and that he's dealing with the ones in jails or prisons is because I think Robert Hare is aware of what psychopaths are capable of. Same thing with M. Scott Peck. M. Scott Peck basically had written a book called People of the Lie, but I think that he was disclosing just how wicked. There's no other word to describe it. I mean, well, there are other words that can go with it, but I mean, it's just like it's that movie Bad Seed. I mean, talk about wicked, but people were so deceived by her, and that's just it. Is that when I look at the ones who were deceived by somebody, I was like, it was kind of like, how could he have, not only he, but how could he and the other ones involved been able to pull off their deception with accurate with precision. It would just dumbfound me. It just was like just like going to a daggone counselor, a so-called mental health professional, and I'm like, I mean, I remember just going, oh, it's just like, it was like the realization of he had the ones that the so-called experts in mental health fooled. But I also would say that as far as Robert Hare goes, is that Robert Hare knows that it's easy to be duped by a psychopath. So and that he's probably been conned by him. I know I have. Jeez, most definitely conned by him. In fact, I think that that part of the reason why they were why they focused in on me was basically, but basically you have so many classes and counseling and so many, books that you've read and such. Let me just see if basically I could pinpoint who I was actually dealing with. I mean, I just look at I think that was part of their enticement. I really do. And the reason why I talk about just because somebody's a medical contractor. I mean, I just look back and it's just like, but once again, people would choose to go with somebody with a bunch of degrees and stuff, and especially a medical doctor over somebody who basically got damaged and destroyed by a medical doctor. It doesn't mean they got by with anything. All I'm getting at is that's part. Oh, and the number of medical doctors that have been basically trained in the military. I mean, just look at the ones in the military who think it's normal to basically go through some gruesome hazing. Look at the men and the women who are basically screaming at the top of their lungs as much as they can about how they were raped in the military, and it was done by the by men and women in the military who were supposed to be on the same side. No pun intended. But what I'm getting at is just like so some of the most diabolical ones that I've ever run into were either in the military or went to military schools, and that's the reason why when I listened to what Kay Griggs was talking about, it's like, oh man, it's like Kay Griggs and I would have had some notes to compare. I have to lie. Laugh about that, but all I'm getting at is it's like, oh man. But once again, if only it's like Monday morning quarterbacking or whatever, Monday morning football. I've never been an avid fan of football, but anyhow, it's kind of like, if only I had known that ahead of time. But basically, if only that had been disclosed to me ahead of time. If only I knew what I was really dealing with. If only I knew that that in one bottle was nitro and in the other bottle was glycerin. And the deadly potential that I was dealing with. Same thing when I was given the drink that most definitely had poison in it. Of course they're going to lie and say that they didn't do anything. It's part of the reason why they isolated me. But the thing is once again, I look forward to the day that the judge lets them know who's actually in control and actually lets them know that they didn't get by with anything. They didn't get by with anything, and that's part of how they're deceived. Absolutely deceived.